Is this installment in the Warhammer franchise an epic turn-based tactical combat masterpiece or a scum-save-filled slog? Watch on and find out. My name is Thorax, and this is Strategy for Busy People. If you've got a few minutes, I'll tell you what to play. In this episode of Strategy for Busy People, we're looking at Warhammer 40,000 Mechanicus by Bulwark Studios. I've got about 6 hours and 45 minutes in this game. I have not traditionally been a fan of turn-based tactical strategy games. Whether it's because I'm not very strategic, or because I'm impatient, or because I'm lazy, or what, I cannot say. But I normally play them for a very short time, and then get frustrated by constantly losing, dying, or otherwise not crushing my opponents. So I give up. Oddly enough, with Mechanicus, I found myself in the exact opposite situation. I have managed to be relatively unexposed to the Warhammer franchise over the years. I spent my fair share of time in comic shops, so I've seen the models hanging on the walls and, occasionally, seen poor souls with their rulers and dice on their dioramas slogging through their epic miniatures battles. And some part of me wanted to be right there with them. Mechanicus focuses on the quote-unquote miniature part of the miniatures battles, where your units are individual soldiers. The backstory has to do with your ship getting stranded around some planet or another, and you've got a limited amount of time to go on various missions for your various advisors before you have to jet off to crush some other hapless foe. Thematically, the game is awesome. The voices are great, and the musical ambiance really nails the religious fanatic cum techno-god vibe. While there are some odd UI glitches, the real horror and tragedy comes in the gameplay, but probably not where you think. As is typical of many turn-based strategy tactical combat titles, you have some important characters with very powerful special abilities that you probably don't want to allow to die. Then you have some grunts that are disposable and replaceable within reason. At the start of a mission, you equip a loadout of a combination of your heroes and your peons, and you dive into a dungeon to achieve the desired goal. Completing missions earns you rewards. Sometimes it's equipment, but it usually is in the form of points you can spend to purchase power-ups for your heroes, and that gives them special abilities, armor, and weapons. Different weapons do different types of damage, the different abilities support or detract from your party or your enemies, and you've seen all this kind of thing before. There is one unique element to the game called cognition points, which are really just a form of action points. You can collect cognition points during your tactical encounters, and managing their use is an important tactical element of the gameplay. The enemies you encounter come from the Necron faction in Warhammer lore. Each has its own abilities and powers. Determining which of your units should do what against which of the enemy units is, as one would expect, the entire game. Ranged combat and melee combat both factor in, and understanding the capabilities of both your own units and the enemy is also, as you would expect, the most important part of the game. The combat encounters take a reasonable amount of time and manage to keep me entertained. I didn't get the sense that I had too terribly much to learn to get into things, but as usual, I was not playing in a particularly hard mode. The beginning tutorial-ish missions do a good job of explaining what you have to do to succeed, but there is one looming Necron in the room that completely ruined this game for me, and it was the dungeon crawling. Maybe I just didn't spend enough time at the Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good. Each encounter involves 3 choices and some reading. Despite my best efforts to understand the lore, I constantly found myself making bad choices. One encounter would require that you press on and let some random of your staff die, but nearly the same encounter elsewhere would require that you stop and help. There didn't seem to be any method to the madness of what the proper response was in each situation, and I definitely wasn't going to spend a ton of time trying to learn enough to make the right choices. Making the wrong choice amplified how ornery or well-prepared the enemy was. It occasionally hurts your party directly. Making the right choice would sometimes grant extra cognition points or extra bonuses. But in reality, I wish they had simply left this entire part of the game out. The end result was that I scum-saved before every single room, reloading and trying to make the right choice if I didn't succeed initially. It made every dungeon take far, far longer than it needed to, and I just couldn't soldier on in the dungeons to reach the end. If this design is as intended, and it's just supposed to be some horribly random roulette wheel, someone needs to kick the designers in the shins. Before I give my final verdict, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends. Agree with me, disagree with me, or want to see other content? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to support me in making more of these videos, become a patron on Patreon. Your support really makes a difference. The final verdict. If you're an excellent reader, love to get into the depths of the lore, and are patient enough to deeply understand the various encounter types and achieve success as you traverse the catacombs, this game is actually quite good. But I just couldn't get past the sheer annoyance of it, and I fled the planet, which I'm sure has made our God Emperor angry. On my trademarked 3-point score scale of avoid, meh, and I forgot to eat, if you can figure out how to mod this game to skip the dungeon bits and go straight to the technical combat, it would really be hard to break away for burger time. Otherwise, in spite of everything else that is amazing about it, avoid.